And welcome back to the 12th man. Absolutely delighted to bring you a top guest with Kenny Ken. So good to name them twice, all the way from North London. One of the biggest Arsenal fans out there. Arsenal v Spurs. We're not going to go too much on that tonight, but obviously two clubs that are on the wrong path. And we're absolutely delighted to have you in, Kenny. Thanks very much.
I'm glad to come.
He's on 350 grand a week, and he's literally doing live streams on Twitter during a game. He's like a person.
It's honestly just getting
So only one question start for me. Like Monday, the one Saturday. My opinion is like the game every Kenny, sorry I cut you off there. I didn't realise that meant to say.
No, it's all right. It's all right. I'll tell you one thing, right? If you haven't sold your show, that introduction itself is a bestseller in itself. You know what I mean?
I would put you in the mid for a night out with it.
No, I liked it. I loved it. You know what I mean?
Tell you what, Kenny, when I told people you were coming on, Arsenal fans, I have a lot of Arsenal friends. Some of my best mates are Arsenal fans. Arsenal have a big following over here in Ireland, and they couldn't believe you were coming on. So I swear to God, it's a massive pull to get you in. So everyone that's watching, I'm sure they're absolutely buzzing. Stevie, one of my biggest friends here, where's me shout out? Stevie, you're more than welcome to the show. Kenny says hello as well. Kenny, obviously following you and some of your friends from Arsenal Fan TV, I think it's absolutely great what you started. A lot of criticism comes your way from Arsenal fans and all our fans as well. But for me, win or lose, I watch every video. I'm a massive fan of it, and it's one of the biggest reasons I started the 12th man. We don't really have many podcasts over here in Ireland, and Arsenal Fan TV, the United Stand, were two of the biggest fan channels started there. So I'm absolutely buzzing to have you in.
Well, yeah, I think what's happening is that it's we're in a zeitgeist now where what's happening is that new media is now a sort of a new invention. It's a younger person show. And it's an opportunity where, for the first time, you don't have to send a video to a TV company to try and sell yourself. You just do your own thing. And then what's happened is that it's all by word of mouth. So really and truly, you're actually your own, your own newscasters, your own presenters, your own cameramen. So it's a very new invention. Arsenal Fan TV's definitely led the way in terms of what Robbie's done. And he's basically his way of helping everyone is basically by saying, right, this is what I'm doing, and just copy what I'm doing. I think a lot of people have done that, especially football shows. So Robbie would definitely go down in the annals as someone who's created something that is really kicked on. You've got to realise right now, you're never going to love everyone. And there's always going to be situations where people who are on Arsenal fan TV are going to be more well known than others, and I think that's just the way things are now. It's an opportunity for everyone, and the good thing about it is that football fans have got choice. But some fans like myself, I'll watch everything to do with Arsenal, and I also watch any discussions with ex-pros as well. So I'm very how do I say it? Flexible.
Yeah, one thing I like about Robbie is he's very professional. People always ask me, is it difficult to do a show after Spurs or got beat, or I'm sure Robbie finds it difficult as well after Arsenal lose, because it's not easy to stand in front of a camera, especially after your team's lost. We will talk about the Villarreal game the other night as we move on through the show. But for me, Robbie does conduct himself very well, and sometimes that comes across as him enjoying Arsenal losing. But he's just doing his job as a broadcaster and as someone that all fans around the world enjoy. Sometimes for me, I listen to Spurs podcasts after we lose because it's a form of therapy for me. Whereas I'm sure a lot of people like yourself, even if Arsenal lose, it's good to listen to the fans, good to hear different points of view, even after defeat.
I think that's the thing. At the end of the day, invariably, what will happen is on all the shows, as you said, it's very good therapy for a lot of fans to hear from other fans. You've got to realise as well, if you're living abroad, especially in the Far East, the United States or Australia, all around the world, if you support Arsenal, Tottenham, you know everything about the history. Because what's happened is because you love the club, you want to know about the history, and also about the players, about the manager. But I think what's happened is that in terms of interaction with other fans, that's the sort of thing that I think maybe Arsenal fans abroad or Spurs fans abroad, that's the sort of thing you like. You like this sort of interaction because you will if you're lucky, you will get down to England, you'll get to a few games, but if you're not have the opportunity to doing it because of work, family stuff, well, the next best thing, rather than listen to the players after games, listen to what a fan is. You guys want to know what, dare I say it, what an Arsenal fan sounds and looks like. So I do understand, you being a big fan of, obviously you've got Spurs, you've got We Are Tottenham TV, you've got Irish Hotspur, or I've been on as well, you've got Premier Spurs.
I've obviously seen Dave as well. I've seen the boys on Tottenham TV, but Dave's doing a very good job. I watched your show with him and Claude before he passed. It's a very good show.
And you got the Spurs in Canada. I've been on that one as well. And also you've got Chris Cowling as well. And you've got
on Chris' show as well. Yeah, Chris is very, very good.
Richard Cracknell as well. So I know a lot of these guys. Richard Cracknell I know very well. And Anthony Costa of Blue, he does a show. So it's there is like some areas. Look, you're not going to please everyone. There's going to be football fans that think, right, why are you making money at the club? Blah blah. But as I said before, you can't worry about what other people think. If 2 or 3 people enjoy what you're doing, carry on.
Kenny, before we go on to the next topics, I've said I'm lucky enough to meet Chris, lucky enough to meet Crackers free podcasts. I never met your good friend Claude, someone that I had absolutely admired so much. He always spoke with a true passion. Didn't matter he supported Arsenal to me. It was everything I was in a fan. How much? What was Claude like off the camera? Was he just a true gentleman?
Claude was fantastic. If you're an up and coming podcaster from any club, be it, then Claude was your man. Claude will make time for everyone. If you met Claude at a match, he'll have a picture of you, and he actually quite humble with it because he wouldn't understand why people want a picture of him. And I think he's the only Arsenal fan who can walk down Tottenham High Road where he'll be very much loved. And he'll be people shake his hand because he's got that kind of respect because obviously he's a North Londoner. He actually was brought up around the sort of Islington first, and he moved around the Enfield Harringay to as a gooner. So I think a lot of Spurs fans respect it as well. And I think proof of the pudding is that he divided opinion with Arsenal fans, but when he was taken away from us, I think the outpouring of emotion, admiration. It's hit a lot of people, especially fans from abroad and a lot of Arsenal fans. Especially there's a few Arsenal fans who are not having Arsenal fans here anything doing. That's fine, I respect that. But for a lot of people who are very close to Claude, it's still painful. Yep. As you well know, I was at his funeral, and I just want to say big props to his daughter for asking me to be one of the pallbearers at the funeral, and we went to the wake to celebrate him. But I think the pain starts now because it's the realisation when the football starts, when you go to games, he's not there.
Yeah.
And they always say, I think one of the biggest myths for me is they say funerals closure. I think the pain starts because everyone goes away, gets on with their life, and then little things, little reminders like AFTV. And I think for me, for a personal level, it's going to be very lonely going to matches without Claude. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, for me, AFTV was never the same when Claude came off. I thought the whole what happened during it was completely, as a Spurs fan, I didn't get the whole why he came off it. I can understand why he came off it at the time, but for me, I don't know Claude personally, but from his interviews, I knew what he meant at the time was actually recorded. And his new channel, Claude and the Bunces, it was my favourite show to watch. Every show I enjoyed watching. I've seen you on it, League Owner on it. For me, it was even better. I know Claude coming off AFTV was probably not what he wanted, but when he went on to the new show, I thought it was even better.
Oh, definitely, because it was more Claude, and he could express himself, and I suppose it was where he could be himself. I think what's happening with AFTV, I don't think that Claude got the sort of exposure that he was getting when he first went there, because obviously newer characters come on, and then obviously people want to see the other newer characters, and I felt that probably at AFTV they made him. It was like he was like Ty's right leg, and so it was. I felt towards the end there wasn't an opportunity to see more of Claude. It was like Claude and Ty. So if you look at Ty now on AFTV, since Claude's left, I think you're seeing more Ty. It's not.
Yeah, it's not the same because that show, I think it was every Tuesday. That was
definitely.
I swear to God, the most funniest show I've ever watched them two.
And they're like that. They're like that in real life because Ty is another person who's a diehard goon as well. I mean, Ty watches the women's. He watches the women's show, the women's women's. He watches the women's reserves. He watches our reserves. He watches our youths. Me and Ty grew up around Holloway Road. And I'll tell you one thing: Ty dresses like that.
Yeah. I think that's why Ty gets so much respect, because no matter how much he says or how many people disagree with him, they'll never get away from the fact that he's a die-hard fan.
Oh, 100%. Him and Claude were Arsenal through and through. If there wasn't AFTV, they'll be in a pub. I've seen them together outside the ground, and it's no different to what they were on TV. They never agree on anything. And, Ty, believe it or not, me and Ty moved in the same circles. We actually went to the same play centres. People think I'm Ty's dad. Ty's older than me by about 20 months. 20 months. I'm just getting that one in there. Sorry, Ty, but you are older than me. So what's happened is that 20 years ago, Ty was still like that. 30 years ago, Ty was still like that. He's Arsenal through and through. And, AFTV have given it, is basically recognised that by, giving him a niche. Obviously, there's fans with probably bigger exposures, but Claude and Ty, they will stand the test of time. It's just so sad. It's hurtful that Claude's not with us, and it's the fact that it was so sudden what happened. No one saw it, and that's what hurts most.
Yeah, and I mean the whole footballing community pulling together just shows you how much Claude was respected. But let's try and move on with the show, Kenny. The reason I got you in here was, big Arsenal. Obviously, you're a big Arsenal. Everyone loves you. You've been on AFTV. You do your own stuff as well. You be on boxing podcasts. Follow your stuff quite a bit, and you're very honest, and you're very
Thank you very much.
You've got a good presence when you speak as well. And I know you say it how it is, and I'm very much like that myself. And people say to me, how do you go on after a Spurs defeat? But I just like to call it how it is. And at the moment, Kenny, we've got two. We support Arsenal, or a bigger club than Spurs, but in my opinion, still a big club. Two great clubs that are in real concerning times. Probably more so for yourselves because you've been so successful over the last 25 years. But before we move on to Thursday's game, I'm not sure how you felt when Wenger was obviously sacked at the time and Emery came on, but I think it's been sort of raised this week that Gary Neville said that Arsenal fans might look back in a year's time, maybe now more than ever, 3 or 4 years on, that he was getting them into the top 4 and eventually fell on the sort of 5th, 6th. Now it's looking like mid-table. Do you think that some Arsenal fans will look back and say they were a bit harsh on Wenger because of what he was dealing with, the lack of money, the problems with the owners? Do you think that Wenger done such a good job towards the end? It was at that going to the line a bit.
Well, that's a good question because I was one of the people who wanted Arsene Wenger to be replaced, and I went on marches and held placards for him to leave. And I think the reason why is that if you go into the zeitgeist of, dare I say it, from 2009 up until the time Arsene left, that's when the cracks were beginning to show in Arsene's reign. And there was genuine football reasons for Arsene Wenger to be replaced in terms of like other bosses being available, the fact that Arsenal were no longer competitive in terms of like player acquisitions, and also most importantly on the pitch where we were falling behind Man City, Liverpool at times, definitely with Man United, and obviously the biggest nemesis was Chelsea. Now, if you look at a lot of Arsenal fans, they say that he worked wonders for Arsenal to get into the top four. Well, I can counter that and say, if you look at the situation, if you remember about, say, 2007, they used to talk about the big four, didn't they?
Yeah.
The big four were Chelsea, Man United, Liverpool.
Do you remember Grand Slam Sunday? Do you mind that every week?
So all right. So if you remember, so that's a great example. So if you look at it, December 2007, Arsenal top of the league. They had Chelsea on the 22nd December 2007 at at Anfield. Man United were playing Liverpool, and then the season. So that was a grand slam. The season before, Arsenal were playing Man United and Chelsea were playing Liverpool. So basically, what that tells you is that the top four was very much a close shop. So all those four clubs, in terms of expenditure, player acquisitions, pay salary, there was a massive gap between them and everyone else because they're in the Champions League. So when people say that Arsene Wenger did wonders to keeping Arsenal in the top four, that's actually not correct. He's doing what he should be because financially, player-wise, there was never a danger of any of those four clubs, Arsenal included, going out the top four.
Yeah.
It became tricky when Spurs, obviously under Harry Redknapp first, and then obviously
Everton and Villa at the time might have been decent.
They were decent as well. But I think what's happened is that one of the things that big as Arsenal fans' complaints is we weren't competitively. When we used to play teams like Man United, Man City, and Chelsea, and Liverpool at times, invariably you could tell that we had the quality, but in terms of like the games, so head to heads, our records against the big teams was terrible.
Yeah.
And then you've got to look at the Champions League as well. We were lucky if we got out the group stages. And that was one of the reasons why we wanted Arsene Wenger replaced, because we saw a style of football that was played by Man City, Chelsea, and obviously Man United when they had Rooney, Ronaldo, and obviously players like Carlos Tevez and Ferdinand and Vidic at the back. We knew there was a massive gap. And we felt that Arsene Wenger's that if we kept on aiming for the top four, then what will happen is put your eggs in one basket, that's it. You got to remember as well on Arsene Wenger, we went 9 years without winning a trophy between 2005 and 2014. So he was prioritising Champions League qualification, which he was going to get anyway, made the token gesture of the league, but we never really challenged. So the dissatisfaction was always there. And then 8-2, Man United.
I remember that.
Birmingham at the FA Cup in the League Cup final. Yeah. Blackburn at home. Bradford away.
There were some of them. Also, Kenny, you have to remind yourself that there was 1 year, and you'll remember the game, and you probably were at it. The Arshavin goal against Barcelona. They beat Barcelona 2 goals. They won the Champions League, and Barcelona might have only won the Champions League that year under Pep.
That's right.
There were some great victories under Wenger in that time, and do you still think that some of it is undermined a bit? There was outstanding things there, as you say, about Bradford.
Well, the thing about Arsene Wenger, I think one of the biggest, chagrins for me is how he changed Arsenal style. If you look at when we played against the Invincibles and we won the double 2 years before, there was basically a team of all seasons where we could play football if you wanted, but if you wanted to battle, we'll have it here. If you wanted to play long ball, don't worry about that. We got strong enough players in terms of physically, athletically. We had that players. You had players like Vieira, you had Petit, then you had Gilberto Silva, strong players. But you also had ballers. Like, for instance, we were basically like, we had the skill, we had the size in midfield. And then when Cesc Fabregas came inside, he made us like Barcelona. in terms of tiki-taka fight. And I always say, and you probably won't agree with me, the worst thing that ever happened to Arsenal is when Spain dominated European football in 2008 and 2012. And obviously, Pep's teams...
Kenny, everybody then wanted to play like Barcelona. That was the problem back then.
Yeah. And see, that's the thing, Gareth. Everyone wanted to play like Barcelona, including Arsenal. But if you look at Barcelona, first thing they do, off the ball, they press high line, which means they win the ball back within 20 seconds tops, and then they dominate possession. Now Arsenal keep possession, but we don't win the ball back, so we're only playing. We're Barcelona light, so that's how we're playing. Teams are breaking us down, and the biggest problem for me is Spurs were catching us up. Now that's no disrespect to Tottenham, but if that's a sign that we're going to decline and we're not watching our backs. Look what happened. Gareth, we had warning signs in 2012 and 2013, and then all of a sudden, when Poch came, first full season, you finished third in the 2-horse race. Then all of a sudden, Harry Kane, Song, Dele Alli, Ericsson, then you had Walker, and then you suddenly had Trippier, then Danny Rose, you had the goalkeeper, Lloris. A superb side, boom, go straight past us. You've now
don't forget about the first one when Wenger topped the chef off for the West Ham game back in 2005.
Yeah, but even so, that was a freak. You didn't maintain that. But under Pochettino, you've gone past us. Now, if you look at the situation now, off the field, you're beating us. You've got a 62,000 stadium. You've got the players who arguably got a better squad than us, even though you're doing your best to disprove that. Plus, another thing as well, commercially, because you've been in the Champions League for the last 4 or 5 years and taken our place. That means you've eclipsed us. But again, you're doing your best to get back to our level.
Before we move on to sort of here now, Kenny, right? The one thing that I would say for like Arsenal or Spurs fans watching is for years and years, you've seen that the year that Spurs finished third in the 2-horse race. Newcastle beat them 5-1 the last day of the season. Arsenal won 4-0 against Villa. Arsenal fans celebrated and Wenger stayed on, and it might have been good at the short term, but for them it was heartbreaking for me and Spurs fans because we really wanted to finish above Arsenal. Whereas at the moment it looks like it's going to be 5 years in a row, and it's almost become. I've seen Spurs fans who have become disinterested in it. More so now, Arsenal fans are sort of hoping they finish above Spurs. Do you think that's...
I don't think it's even that. I think what it is that you've got to remember with Spurs is that Pochettino allowed Spurs to dream. Pochettino's attitude and the Spurs fans' attitude and the players' attitude as well. And I'm not sure I think that came from Liverpool, but your attitude is that Chelsea were your rivals. We were nowhere near. Don't worry about Arsenal no more. They just want to get in the top four. We want to win titles. Now the only team that whose model we copy is Chelsea. So for a time between maybe 2016 up until about 20 last season, your biggest game was Chelsea, not Arsenal, because you expect to beat Arsenal. That became your biggest game.
Do you think now, Kenny, that some Arsenal fans are sort of more the way Spurs fans were for a long time of finishing above Arsenal? Now it's sort of flipped that Arsenal fans are sort of hoping they finish above Spurs fans?
No, I think a lot of Arsenal fans still think that you're inferior to us because even though you finished higher than us,
no trophies.
A lot of Arsenal fans we think, well, where's your trophies? You've got nothing to show the fact you're finished above us. So in retrospect, Arsenal fans will never accept that you're a bigger side than us. Saying that, if you won the Champions League, all of us Arsenal fans will never. I wouldn't be speaking to you now because it was too humiliating.
See if Spurs had won that League Cup a few weeks back, it wouldn't have changed much for me in terms of, yes, it would have ended the trophy drought, and we could put that 13-year bit behind us, but it wouldn't have made us a bigger club in Arsenal. And I think it's going to take loads of ones and Premier Leagues and Champions Leagues. They do that. For me, in my lifetime, I can't see it happening. I can't see Spurs ever being bigger.
Why not? Why not? You can't say never. You can never say never because I always say I believe in fate, and I look at the situation and look at your ground. I look at the way the infrastructure behind the scenes, new training ground in Enfield that you've got. I look at the players. Obviously, if you don't keep Harry Kane, then obviously we're talking one of the biggest rebuilding jobs in football. But in terms of where Spurs are going to go, the problem Spurs have got is Girona. It's not so much Girona. Well, Girona's
we're going to come on to that, Kenny. But
Yeah.
do you not sort of see the same sort of things happening at Spurs that was happening at Arsenal 10 years ago, where they were just happy to finish top four? No real drive to go for the big trophies, new stadium. But
you got to remember, you have to remember what Spurs were like when Arsenal was successful. Remember, when Arsenal was successful, especially around '98. You look at '98. You had who did you have? Christian Gross as manager. We had Arsene Wenger.
the train ticket.
Yeah, you had a train. And then also George Graham went to you in '99 up until 2001. We had Arsene Wenger. Then Glenn Alden went there. Then he got sacked. Then you got David Pleat for a while. Then you had Jacques Santini. You had Martin Yole. Then you had one day Ramos. We've had Arsene Wenger continuity. Then you had Archando Ramos' Harry.
Yeah.
Wanted the England job. Then you had Viers Bush. Then you had Tim Sherwood. Bloody hell. God help you that. And then
more like Spurs than the most fans do.
But if you look at it, you had Pochettino. What I'm trying to say is that there was a time when there was no contest.
Yeah.
You Spurs fans just wanted to finish in the top four, top half, not a top four. And then Martin Yole came along. You wanted to finish in the top four. Then Harry came along. It's a top four, and then you lost Bale. Stopped wanting to be top four. The Poch comes. He wants to win everything, including the boat race. And I think that's where the ambition of Spurs. We don't be where you want. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree, and it's going to take some hard work to get back where Poch is. But before we come on the Spurs, Kenny, I want to sort of bring you back to last week. A very disappointing result in the Europa League.
Yes.
For me. When I seen the first game, I thought, you know what, finished 2-1. I thought Arsenal did well to get out 2-1. I really fancied Arsenal to go on and win it. Turn it around at home against Villarreal. Didn't quite happen. And with the league position, I think there's been so many bad games at home. If the fans were there, there would be a lot of frustration. For you, do you think Mikel Arteta's position is untenable? I've even seen Ty on Arsenal Fan TV saying he thinks his position is untenable, and that's very unusual for him to criticise. So, what do you think will happen over the summer in terms of Arteta?
Well, he should be in the job. Mikel, as far as I'm concerned, Mikel Arteta's position became untenable before Christmas. We had a woeful amount of results. Obviously, one of the worst games we've played was actually at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium when you just toyed with us. You scored a great goal from Song in the 30th minute. Then before half-time, Harry Kane makes it 2-0. And afterwards, you just went, right, let's just put men behind the ball. And whatever Arsenal do, they're not getting past us. One of the worst games ever. And then we got battered by Man City, losing to Burnley at home, losing the thing. So he should have gone then. For some reason.
Do you agree with this comment? There's no identity to Arsenal anymore. We used to be associated as a club that would play great football, but there's no game plan anymore.
100% agree with you, and that's the situation. That's why I want Arteta replaced, because what Arteta's done is that he's one of those new unique managers who go to a club where, rather than play to the player's strengths and try and evolve his philosophies and evolve his style of play, he's gone there and started an experiment, which means he has made Arsenal toothless in front of goal. Like, for instance, Arsenal's always known for great attacking football. Well, this guy has made us more compact, but that's all well and good. But in a tight game, where you're more compact and the goals are dried up maybe in the last third, then what will happen is in tight games like Everton at home, you lose them because it just takes one mistake, they score, and then Everton shot. And I think that's how Arteta is that Arteta is a killer of young talent. And also, he experiments too much. 1 minute it's a back three, then it's a back four, then it's Willian and David Luiz and Gabriel. Then it's COVID. Then all of a sudden, Smith Rowe's basically like the flavour of the month. And if you look at Arsenal's attack, I can tell you this categorically. You don't have to believe me. Basically, our attack is basically give the ball to Saka.
You know what I can't understand? For me, as a coach as well, I look at games and I can't understand how Martinelli isn't in the team. I can't understand it.
I could tell you why. Because I'll tell you why. Because of the way, if you look at Martinelli, his best position.
The ball.
No, basically, if you look at Martinelli, he's a street footballer like Alexis Sanchez, Alexis Sanchez, Luis Suarez, and Carlos Tevez, street players who basically here, there, and everywhere. They don't stick to any position, and they got this sort of bags of energy. Now, for someone like Arteta, who's a control freak and wants players to play position, Martinelli's best position is where Aubameyang plays his best football on the left, not in the centre forward, because you want a centre forward to play with your back to goal and hold the ball up and play on the shoulder. Now, Martinelli, he's too much of an instinctive footballer to do that, so he can't play centre forward. So he can only play if Aubameyang is not on the side. Then again, Pepe, when he plays at left, down the left, he gives us sort of more. He gives us more kind of.
You sort of look at that and go, that's why Pepe doesn't play as much as he should be playing. Why Martinelli isn't the team that Arteta wants. They sort of give so many instructions. He wants to sort of control these players and not let them express themselves.
I think so. I think what's happened is that Arteta's scarred by the fact that the goals we've let in under Arsene Wenger towards the end of his reign, and to a certain extent under Unai Emery as well. Because when in Unai Emery's last few games, everyone was talking about, we've conceded 30 shots in goal. So when you have that sort of situation, conceding 30 shots in goal against Watford, as a game I was at and everything, you're going to think, well, right, why are teams having more attempts? Teams are having more attempts in goal because what's happening is that you're not pressing in certain areas. Midfielders are walking past the other midfielders and they're getting into our box. So we need to stop them from getting our box. So we play a high line. If you play the high line, then what happens is that from the high line you press. So that's how Arsenal do, like Man City are playing. Obviously, what a lot of teams are doing, high line, then two banks of four, but they've got to stay close to each other because you can't press when you're not playing the high line. So you press from the front, and then if they get past the press, they still got to get past the midfield, and then from the high line, you pray that your midfield and your front three are doing their jobs because if they get past that press, boom, you're at the goal.
Arsenal only had like 4 shots on target over the 2 games. I watched James and I watched Cecil and I watched Turkish's show. If you look at the weekend, Villarreal got beat 4-2 at home against Celta Vigo. So that's the biggest damning thing for Arteta at the moment. And one of the comments here from Stephen saying, if Arteta was to be sacked, Kenny, who would you want in charge next year?
Well, basically 2 things I want. I want Ten Hag from Ajax. I think he's done his work at Ajax. He's having players taken away from him. Like the best clubs in Europe, especially clubs in this country, are taking the best players. I think what's happened is that in terms of expenditure, he's got everything's in place for it to work at Arsenal. He's got goodish youngish players, and plus he's basically got contacts within Europe. Plus, it's an opportunity of managing the Premiership. Now, if he doesn't come to Arsenal, then you're probably going to get him. So we actually need him. But for Ten Hag to succeed, we need to get rid of Vinay and Edu. They're useless. Get the best people behind the scenes. Some of the players, some of the people that employed at Chelsea and Man City. And then what you do is make sure we have a look at our academy, Hell Ends, and make sure we look at our training facilities and say, right, are they as good as City's and Chelsea's? If they're as good as if they're not as good as City's and Chelsea's, let's make them high class. That way, we give Ten Hag an opportunity to actually get Arsenal back to where we're going to play. He's the best place to fight. If not, you get someone like Rafa for 2 years and then get a younger boss to come in after him. But if you want to really press forward, get Ten Hag.
Yeah, Ten Hag is obviously a hot name for Spurs. Yourselves looking for a new manager, and there was rumours of Ten Hag being top target a couple of weeks ago, but he signed a new contract. Now it's only a 1-year extension, which doesn't completely rule him out. But his interviews since have sort of signalled he's going to be there for an orbit, and it's going to cost a lot more money to get him out of his contract. If it wasn't Ten Hag, is there anyone else out there you would like to see Arsenal go for?
Well, obviously, Brendan Rodgers. Someone from your part of the world is someone who gets touted. Got Tottenham are in for him as well, but he's got a very exciting project at Leicester. He's going to get Champions League football. I think them winning today is probably going to cement them into top 4.
Basically means if Liverpool don't win on Thursday, it basically secures top 4.
Yeah, so he's virtually got 1 foot in the top 4. So he's going to stay at Leicester because I think that he feels that he's got unfinished business. But he's another one that's now he's getting banded about. And obviously, who else you look at?
a Leicester fan in the chat here saying hands off Rodgers.
Oh, fair enough. All right, sorry about that, mate. But needs must. But those are the kind of names we're talking about. Obviously, I like Allegri, but again, there seems to be personal problems with Allegri in terms of his mother.
English, I think English as well isn't great, does it?
Yeah, definitely. But Unai Emery's English wasn't the best, was it?
Kenny, I suppose we'll get into some of the things I was going to talk about, but as you mentioned, Allegri, apparently one of the things before he was interviewed after Wenger, and he was surprised at the lack of ambition by the board, which we are going to come on to, that Allegri felt that he obviously did want the job, but before Emery was appointed, that he didn't feel the board matched his ambitions. Do you think that's a massive problem at Arsenal, that the board, or I heard DT's interview after the game on I can't remember if it was Villarreal or against West Brom at the weekend. They said it doesn't matter who's in charge, we're going to get the same cycle over and over again. So do you think that whoever comes in, it's a bit of a poison chalice at the moment with the Kroenke's in charge?
Well, you've got to look at the situation is that the Kroenke's got an open goal now. The demonstrations hit home. It went around the whole world. They would have been aware of it. And they were being aware whether they liked it or not about a result. They've got an open goal here. And the open goal is sack Arteta. Show you're serious, get rid of him, and then look at what's not working. Get rid of the personnel behind the scenes, get the best people, and then do what you've always done, because they've always provided money. So what they've got to do is make sure that they actually keep an eye on how their money's been spent. That's an open goal. But the thing about in terms of like ambition, you've got to look at the situation. Chelsea, Man City, second nowhere. Second's first loser. Chelsea's women and Man City's women are overtaking Arsenal's women.
The youth as well.
They want to win. They want their women to be the best. So you look at it. What are Chelsea doing better than Arsenal? Oh yeah, Abramovich sacks you, and if you don't win a trophy, you have to win a trophy. You have to finish first. So that's a mentality, which means that's the ambition. Then you say, all right, have they got the best academy? Yeah, they have got the best academy, because the best boys in London go to Chelsea. Have they got the best training ground? Well, yes, they have, because they've left the horrible place in Hayes and Harlington and moved to Cobham. So they're doing something right. Yeah. So Allegri's got a point. Arsenal cannot. If you're not following Chelsea or Man City's model, then you're not ambitious. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I completely agree. I think at the moment, probably more so Arsenal, but Spurs and Arsenal or Chelsea are everything we want to be at the moment. I mean, I watched that game on Saturday, Man City against Chelsea, and the level of quality is a million miles away from where Spurs are. And probably when you feel the same about Arsenal.
100%. There's a reason why they got the Champions League final. They play, Dave, modern football. If you look at the way they beat Real Madrid and PSG, it wasn't the fact that they obviously they scored more goals than them, but it's the athleticism as well.
They played them for 2 games.
Yeah, Chelsea murdered Real Madrid.
Oh, and even on Saturday, that second half especially, Chelsea absolutely dominated Man City. Yeah. I haven't seen a team do that to Man City for a long, long time. Yeah. He played them off the park.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Chelsea, because simple reasons that Tuchel's gone to Chelsea, and he's got a clear style of playing style. Yeah. None of these complications like Lampard.
Kenny, but this is my problem as well. That Spurs fans and Arsenal fans before have said, when a manager comes in, we need to give him time, we need to trust the process. But you have to give us something they believe in. A lot of the Arsenal fans, have been trusting Arteta for a long time, and I probably think now it is a turning point after winning the Europa League. But does Tuchel prove that you shouldn't need 18 months or 2 years to
100%.
They turn it. At least give us something to hang on to. In 2 years, Arteta, bar that FA Cup run, hasn't done a lot to convince Arsenal fans he's the right man. And the same with Mourinho. In 2 years, we haven't seen enough from him before he was sacked. You look at Tuchel in 4 or 5 months. I know he's got a great squad of players, but he's got a style of play, and you've seen that after 1 or 2 games.
Well, the thing about it is, if we talk about like Arsenal, and if you talk about Tuchel himself, he's gone there. He's basically said, right, I've got a top goalkeeper. My back four's not too bad. Midfield is good because I've got Conte, the best midfielder in the world. I haven't got the greatest strikers, but I can work around that. So basically, he brings back Rudiger. So hang on, why isn't Rudiger getting a game? Oh yeah, I want my midfield to control possession and have control. So why isn't Jorginho's playing? All right, you're playing there. So that he's already sorted that. He said, "Oh, am I having a back three or back four? Oh yeah. By the way, I want Aspilicueta as my right back because he can defend. He can go up and down, and Reece James can only go there. So he sorted that one out. Kept it simple, and then all of a sudden he already says, "Right, I've got a strong team athletically. I've got Kante's got 3 lungs. So basically, how I'm going to play is going to make myself difficult to beat. Make sure we win the ball quickly, and then when we go forward with a lot of pace and waves of attacks with numbers. That's all he's doing. Simple.
Yeah.
It's not rocket science.
Yeah, and he's getting the best out of it's a big squad up Chelsea team. He's keeping everyone happy. You know, he's rotating quite a lot, and he's getting it right all the time. But Kenny, we've talked about Arteta, but you've talked about managers that you'd like to see come on. Do you think Arteta will survive this over the summer? Do you think he'll be the manager next season?
Well, if Arsenal Football Club want more of the same, all right, this is a risk you're going to take with Arteta. A lot of people who are Arteta in are saying, all right, we're giving till Christmas. So if you're giving till Christmas, that means you're wasting another season.
Yeah.
Because if he's got a better squad of players than he had under Unai Emery, and he's still producing this garbage, what's going to happen when? Because the other day, Chelsea are going to be stronger, no doubt about that. Man City ain't going to get stronger. Liverpool are going to be so annoyed about where they finished, and Man United have finally got a centre forward. So, you know, we're already on the back foot. So, and Spurs.
Owen's saying here, as a Liverpool fan, it feels like Arsenal are where they were, or where Liverpool were before Klopp came in. Do you sort of sense that they need a top manager and really turn this around?
Yeah, definitely, because simple reasons that what Klopp done is that he never changed the way he played. You know, like, if you look at the constants in Klopp's side, the constant is Jordan Henderson, Firmino, all players that he bought when he first came. Second season, in his season, he gets Mane. Third season, he gets Salah. So basically, and then all of a sudden, oh yeah, I need a top goalkeeper because I'm not happy with Mignolet. So he gets them. And what has happened is that he's been able to do that because Liverpool have been winning games. They got top 4 in his first season, got top 4, got a Champions League final, and then boom, became the best team in the country and in Europe. So that's a manager who knows how he wants to play. He's playing to the strengths of what he's got. None of this trying to experiment to show everyone what an intelligent coach he is. Win football matches. That's what we're there for.
I know what you think, and I know what other Arsenal fans think, but do you taking that away, no one knows what the Cronkies think or what Edu and Vinay think. Do you think Arteta will be in charge for the first game of next season?
Unfortunately, yes. Which is an outrage. But then again, if we get pumped by Chelsea and it's humiliating, the calls and the pressure on him is going to be great because everyone thinks that there's no pressure. But 14 games a season is not a. I'm sure if I had my ADS with you in the end of the financial year and you looked at my objectives and I produced that garbage, I'll be out the door. You'll sack me. So why is it set? Why is this garbage he's producing acceptable? I don't understand that.
Do you think that Spurs are on a similar pathway, the way they're going in terms of they're looking at trying to finish in the top 4 too much and not too worried about winning trophies? There's a comment here about Harry Kane, whose future is going to be up for talks in the summer. Do you think that it's too much focused on financial and not so much about on the pitch winning trophies?
Well, the thing with Tottenham is that you've got to realise I think it's how do I say it's a sensitive issue because of the fact that Pochettino gave you Champions League football in every year. So a year of that, and knowing Arsenal, I know factually that when you're in the Champions League every year, that basically it bases on your expenditure. Like, for instance, we bought the Emirates because we thought we were going to get Champions League football every year. So that will pay for the stadium, and we knew we were getting the prize money from UEFA for being in the tournament. We knew we were going to get the TV money, and we knew we were going to get the commercial advertising. Now, because you've got a year of all of that, you can't afford to go another season without Champions League football because you've basically spent your budget on the assumption you're getting Champions League football every year. So
the problem at the moment is it's not even about Champions. It's even Europa League football is in doubt. Arsenal probably won't be in it. Spurs is looking unlikely.
We're not getting it.
Well, no, I mean, how damaging is that going to be? They're not even going to be in Europe. Both teams, possibly.
I think for Arsenal, it's catastrophic because simple reason is that we're not even getting the like I said, the sideman things like the money you get from the TV advertising, which is very small compared to the Champions League. So again, you're in a situation where you're not getting any new revenue, plus no fans are coming in.
Kenny, I mean, and this is another thing too. I've seen today DT tweeted about, are they trying to charge fans the same prices next season for a season ticket when there's only 19 games?
I got my season ticket renewal, and basically this was actually quite interesting. My season, when I got my email today, it was basically saying that we've got until the end of. They're going to let us know the prices at the end of May. So obviously they want to know if we're still in Europe. Now, if we're not in Europe, then our price is going to be reduced. But they've actually said that we could take another holiday from next season. We defer our season tickets. So what that's telling me is that there's going to be reduced crowds next season.
That's not going to help the players on the pitch and stuff, is it? If there's
not necessarily. But all right. I'll put it another way. Arsenal got gold members, season ticket holders like myself, and they got the priority member. They've got the corporate.
Yep.
All right. And then,
exactly.
And then you've got silver and red members. Well, basically, the only people who were allowed to do their renewals were the corporates and the gold members. So that's telling me is that they're actually going to prioritise gold members and corporates, which means we are going to have reduced stadiums next season because we're not going to have full stadiums probably till next season. I hope I'm wrong. So in that respect, it's the revenue, isn't it? The revenue that we're losing, plus we're not getting new European football, so that's going to hurt. But you guys have just built a new stadium.
Yeah.
So
both teams have took out loans as well, haven't they? Last summer.
Yeah, definitely. But the thing is that the proviso, Mourinho was bought by Tottenham to get in the top four, and get a good run in Europa in the Champions League. That's what he's bought for. So financially, it's going to be like it's going to be a kick in teeth for Spurs because that'd be their second year. That's just because if you look at it, we've moved to a new ground in 2006, and for 10 years we were able to finance that with Champions League football. You've moved to a new ground in 2019. You had Champions League football for only 2 years, and the next 2 years into your move to a new stadium, you got no Champions League football. That's catastrophic for Tottenham.
Yeah, I agree. Kenny, surely all the blame is not on Arteta. There's only so much you can do with the squad. Do you agree with that? I mean, for me, I think, yes, it's not the best squad in the world, but, I think it should still be a lot better with the squad of players as available.
Well, it's easy to say that, but ultimately, the manager is responsible for the results on the field. And, football's a simple game, and it's only complicated when managers are indecisive. They try to change things, and you don't have a clear playing style. I can categorically state, and I can say that with great evidence as well. If you play the clear playing style, play to your strengths, you'll win more football matches than you lose. David Moyes at West Ham is playing to the strengths of his players. Consequently, West Ham are going to be getting European football. They're not coming out of the top six unless something catastrophic happens. And even if they finish seventh, that's a fantastic season for West Ham. But ultimately, they want UEFA Cup football with that massive stadium. He's got the best out of what he has.
I completely agree. He's got the best of what he has available. And I don't think that was happening with Mourinho at Spurs, and certainly not Arteta with Arsenal.
That's another story of Mourinho at Tottenham. If you don't mind me saying so, and one of the reasons why Mourinho failed at Spurs is that I'm sorry, mate. You got to play to the players' strengths. You got players who just got the Champions League football. Don't get me wrong. Towards the end, I think Spurs' decline started in January 2019. Yeah. That was the year you still got the Champions League. So you got beat by Man United, and teams were caning you.
I don't know, Kenny. I think. If you see that January or February, it was February 2019. It was actually the Burnley game. It all seemed eternal, that Burnley game. The Mike Dean incident. But it was only a couple of months before that where Spurs won like 6-2 away at Everton. I think that year they got the Champions League final. It was sort of the pinnacle, wasn't it? And they needed to go forward. They had to be backed after that because then players were on decline from that moment. They were quite fortunate to get to the final.
Well, yeah, but if you look at it, we played you at Wembley, and we should have battered you. And we're not a great side, and we should have won had it not been for like Harry Kane penalty, and we even missed a penalty in the last minute. And we played you off the park. And that's when I thought, hang on here. Under Pochettino, when you were winning football matches, this is how Spurs played. Simple. You had a good, strong back four. You had a good midfield. And basically, you pressed teams and you gave a team a moment's peace, won the ball, and you used to attack in waves. Song, double figures. Dele Alli, double figures. Harry Kane, obviously double figures. And your Eriksen off figures. 2016-2017 season, you didn't lose a game at White Hart Lane. That was the best football I've seen for Tottenham for a long
I
time.
agree. Yeah,
Season afterwards, still playing great football. When you fell away of that under the Poch, that's when you went in decline. The Mourinho should have known, and he should have said, right, this is how Spurs were successful, moderately successful. Let's play that way. What did he do? He bought bloody Doherty, a right wing back.
Kenny, do you know what? I mean, with Mourinho, I was very vocal at the time. Didn't really want him, but when he was here, I backed him. I only really gave up on him. See, after that Arsenal game, we lost 2-1, and the Dinamo Zagreb game, I really gave up because I couldn't back him anymore. I was actually holding back at times because I didn't want to go against him too much. But
come on, sacking him before a cup final.
It's a joke. Look, exactly, but I think the players had stopped playing for him by then. But for me, Poch, you talk about that season, right? That Spurs went on the decline. The obvious thing about it was Spurs didn't sign a player that whole summer, right?
Yes.
And you look at it now, right? And you look at Arsenal as well. Does it really matter who's in charge of the team next year if the owners don't back the manager? If Arsenal got a similar manager to Pochettino, where he come on, he worked wonders with the players. They got them into the top four. He got them in a position to challenge for the league, and they don't back him. Eventually, that's going to run out, and it's going to end up the decline again. So that's where I am with Spurs. And it's probably Arsenal. Are we going around in circles, Kenny?
Well, the thing about it, right, is that you've got to remember one thing, right, is that sometimes it's easy to say that, but it depends if you have an affinity with the manager. And depends if the manager has basically got credit in the bank. Now, obviously, you would have thought that Pochettino would have had credit in the bank because of the fact that you played your best football under him. 2014, 2015 season, you finished fifth. I think you finished fifth.
Yeah.
That's when you were trying to. He was getting rid of players that he didn't like. He didn't like Capoue. He didn't like. Adebayor. He didn't like. Certain players he didn't like. He didn't like Capoue, Adebayor, attitude situations. So, and he wasn't too sure about Ryan Mason and all those.
Kenny, do you mind that game? It was the next season, the 2015-16. I think Kane scored, and then was it Gibbs for Arsenal? That game, I really thought that day was like the Mikel of Spurs and Pochettino, where they went, "Oh my God, this is a serious team."
Well, see, that's the thing. And actually, me and Claude actually had an argument about it because Claude said to me, "Ken, what's Spurs?" I went, "Come on, that was silly. It's no Ken. Spurs are going to win the league."
It does. I mean, his interview that day.
Yeah, he said. I mean, an argument. He said, so we had to talk about it. He went, "Ken, how did they play?" And I said, right. I went back in my memory, but hang on here. They played us off the park.
Yeah.
And that Danny Rose kept on advancing. Walker kept on outpacing Gibbs, and Harry Kane was a handful. And it wasn't. And I thought about it. Well, hang on here. Petr Cech was a busier goalkeeper because if Alderweireld did the header, which he put over the bar,
unbelievable save.
Yeah, and there was one from Eriksen where he had that shot. And I thought, actually, we were lucky to get a point. So Claude had a point. He was a visionary. Then all of a sudden, you finished third in 2 season race. But saying what you were saying, that was when I thought Spurs' fortunes changed.
Yeah.
But with Tottenham, the thing that got me. Made me laugh, probably because I hate Spurs, but you got to call yourselves unlucky. Every big game you had, right? You had semi-final against a top team in Chelsea and Man United. That's why you didn't win the FA Cup. Then you played Chelsea in the final, great side. Then you played Liverpool in the Champions League final. I mean, I say
when Arsenal went on that sort of bad run, didn't they have Wigan and Hull? They want you just need that bit of luck, don't you? When you're on a bad run.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing, right? I did I laughed, and you were probably crying. But you think about it. Every big game Spurs had in the semi-final or final, you actually played. You played big teams, and that's why you lost. If you had played teams like Wigan or Hull like we did, or Aston Villa.
We probably still would have found a way to lose because I honestly think Spurs are a cursed club.
I started laughing. I was thinking, I said, those poor guys, man. They played top teams, and because Harry Kane and Dele Alli are playing in the opposition, they're going to raise their game and they're going to find a way to beat Tottenham, and they always did. I mean, your semi-final against Chelsea was remarkable because I was in Windsor Park. I
Oh,
was in Windsor.
we
I
absolutely
know.
battered
I was
them.
watching it. I couldn't believe what I was watching. I said to myself, how did they lose that game? And then Man United the season after, how? I was laughing. I went, right. So I said to myself, let's get this right. They played beautiful football. They still found a way to lose.
You mind, wasn't it Maric scored an absolute screamer?
Yeah, that's
Hazard
right. And
come off the
Hazard.
bench, scored a great goal.
Yeah.
Just no luck. But here, funny comment here. One of my good mates from England, the Wigan fan, he's actually slagging you, Kenny, saying less of the Wigan talk. We knocked Arsenal out of the FA Cup back in 2012.
Yeah, but
right?
yeah, they did. But in 2014 when we won we beat you on penalties.
Oh, there we go.
At Wembley, I was there.
I was basically going to say, you know, there's always this talk here of I get a lot of stick over here. Spurs will always be a small team. Is that how you see it, Kenny?
Well, you say it. Unless you think you got to. It's been 60 years since you won the double and you won the league, and you actually finished second in 1960. Well, I don't remember when you finished. Last time you finished second was in 2017, 6 points behind Chelsea. Apart from that, you got closer, maybe under the Pots. But let's face it, I don't know. Again, maybe you do need a new owner. Maybe you need an owner who's like Abramovich and who accepts second as an insult. Maybe that's what Spurs need.
Ben saying here forever an Arsenal shadow, and that is the problem at the moment. But Kenny, you know, Arsenal and Spurs fans, they will have banter and they will have a bit of slagging, and it's great that we can come on here to do the show. But from watching the Arsenal fan, you know, AFTV and all your friends' shows, Arsenal fans, from watching the likes of Chris's show, been lucky enough to feature on it a few times, and you know, do these two clubs deserve much more than they're getting at the moment? You know, the fans are absolutely brilliant. They turn up home and away, you know, when it's normal times, and even if you watch the live streams, the followings they have around the world, you know, these two clubs deserve more than they're getting from the owners at the moment.
Well, the thing about it is that with Arsenal, obviously, it's a fact. It's their mentality's all wrong in terms of, like, you know, they talk a good game, they want success, but the thing is that it's not direct. It's not coming directly from the owners. The kind of, like, how do I say it, DNA isn't coming from the owners like it does with Chelsea and City. In terms of Spurs, Levy's the problem. Levy is a problem. He actually pats himself on the back that he sells players for great big money. All right. Yeah. All right, if you sold all these players, well, hang on it. Where is the money? I say it's a great respect. You haven't replaced Walker and Trippier, that's a disgrace.
Yeah.
You only recently replaced Danny Rose. That's, you know what I mean? And then you've got
they replaced Bale. They replaced Bale with Lamela. You know.
Yeah. I mean, what's he still doing?
It'll be the same. You know, who are they going to replace him with if he goes?
Yeah. Yeah. See, that's the thing. The thing with Spurs, right, is that I don't know how when Trippier left that you didn't have a ready-placed replacement, and how you let him go in the first place. That's laughable. Danny Rose, you know, not replacing, that's laughable as well. But you look at the whole situation. Eriksen. How the hell can you allow Eriksen to go into Milan, the person who and then you haven't replaced him? Like,
Can I remember? You know, he tortured Arsenal at times. I know he didn't score a lot of goals, but Dembele for me was one of the best players we ever had him on field. You know, he was not the leader.
Yeah, so you didn't place with Dembele. Like, another thing as well, no disrespect to Moran Mason, the person who's actually trying to create chances for you, Ndombele, can't even get a game. How the hell is Ndombele not getting games for you guys? Is Ryan Mason mad? I'll tell you one thing. If you want Spurs to go near Oblivion, let this kid keep your job. I hope he keeps the job, Ryan Mason. He's absolutely useless.
Ben saying here, Kenny, we are still trying to replace Vieira. Never mind Danny Rose.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's the truth. In terms of the problem with Arsenal.
You know, one of the big slogans with Spurs fans and, you know, with Enoch is they always put profit before glory. Do you see the same with Kroenke and Arsenal, that it's profit before glory?
Well, yeah, because simple reasons that if you look at it, Arsenal, you only have to look at Man United. Since Fergie's left, Man United, they've actually made more money off the field than they have when they were there. Man United is printing money, and that's one of the reasons why the protest is very successful, because sponsors are threatening to pull out because of the Liverpool game got cancelled, and they're fearing that there's going to be anarchy at the football club. But you look at the money Man United have made. There's no. Is there any wonder that they're spending? 90 shots and 90 shots on Lukaku. 90 shots on Pogba. 90 shots on Maguire. They're probably, they got Bruno Fernandes as well. They've got money to spend because it doesn't. They're killing teams in merchandise still. Man United. So arguably, Spurs and Arsenal are probably in that category as well.
I suppose it's the more difficult for you that I grew up supporting Spurs. I'm 23. Was being a mid-table club that pushed for Europe. Poch, as you said, give us that taste of getting to the top, but not quite and get over the line. Where for you grew up Arsenal, used to winning trophies, used to being one of the. You talk about the '98 period, the 2003.
Well, you got it all wrong, man. There. When I remember, I bought my first time Arsenal win a trophy. I was 7, 1979. And then we didn't win anything for 8 years.
Was that the Terry Neal period? The one the FA
Terry Neal period, yeah. And then he got sacked. And then George Graham gave us that success from about 87 to about 90. Well, let's not talk about him. So can we talk about something else? So basically, you got that, and then 95, George Graham gets sacked for the bungs with Jensen and Noderson, with Runa Hauger. And then Bruce Field, let's not talk about him. And then Arsene Wenger comes in, 98 to 2005. And then 2005 to 2014, we win nothing. So really and truly, in terms of being an Arsenal fan, without George Graham and Arsene Wenger, I don't think I'd be like you.
It's still a lot more than we've experienced over the years.
Well, I can't sympathise with you with that because it's football. Because rivalry, and we're talking. But in terms of like the way it is, I'm one of those fans who think Arsenal should win every game, and I want us to be always competing. I don't buy into this garbage that you can't always be successful. You can't always be spoiled for success. Sorry. If you want,
if you worry that Chelsea are sort of taking over London, that they're the top team, that everyone, I think I watch a lot of Curtis Shaw's TV, and he's very vocal, and Arsenal could lose a generation of fans. Do you think that? I spoke about Robbie spoke about it before, that a lot of his kids, or a lot of his son's kids, are more going towards Spurs and Chelsea as well. Do you sort of worry that they could 100%. Lose a generation of fans?
Well, 100%, because simple reason is that we're an armchair. We're in the zeitgeist of the 21st century is the armchair fan. And invariably, the armchair fan, wherever you go, are going to support, unless the clubs like Arsenal and Spurs do more in the community. And I'm talking about every football club, do more in the community with the teams, then what will happen? You will lose a generation of supporters because you're not doing enough for the community. Because what's happened is that young kids will say, I'm a Chelsea fan now because we're winning. Just like, if you look at it across London, a lot of London clubs have lost out to Man United and Liverpool. Liverpool in the 80s and 70s, and Man United in the 90s up to the 21st century. So we lost a lot of Londoners who support both those big clubs. Now, Arsenal are losing a lot of fans who support Chelsea because of their success. So it's only natural that we're going to lose a lot of clubs, a lot of supporters to Man City, because yes, we will lose a generation of fans. But then you're from Ireland. I can only assume that in terms of like supporters, obviously Man United, Liverpool, and Celtic are big in Ireland. Or is
if you go towards Premier League, it's United, and Liverpool are dominant over here. Arsenal will be the next in line. After that,
but there's a massive. Surely there's a gap. Between Liverpool and Man United than Arsenal. Sure.
But I mean, even over here, there's a lot of Leeds fans, Newcastle fans, from them times in the 90s and stuff as well.
Oh, yeah, see that's the thing, because both of them were successful clubs, but obviously Leeds have got the Irish contingent, isn't it? Players like Mikel, like Hart, Gary Kelly, players coming through, and even a guy from Boys Zone used to be their ex-goalkeeper.
Yeah,
Nicky
Kevin's just
Byrne.
asking you, Arteta on the right. He must have sort of showed.
Arteta out.
Kenny's
Arteta
definitely said
out.
Arteta out, and no change in that. But Kenny, before we move on, last question I want to ask you is we talk about tomorrow night's game freeze against Chelsea. There's been a lot of talk about fans boycotting games. Do you think that if Arsenal fans did boycott games next season, that would get a stronger message across to the board?
Well, the thing with our football fans, especially Premiership football fans, is that when one goes, one takes your place.
Yeah.
So you could boycott, but so what? Someone else will think, right, that's a space for me. I'm taking it. I'm grabbing it at both ends. The best way to cause a stir is what Man United did. They stopped a football match. They didn't just stop any match. They stopped the biggest game in world football.
Yeah.
Liverpool, Man United. Forget all that Arsenal, Chelsea, Man City. The biggest clubs in England are Man United and Liverpool. To go a game that goes all across the whole world, that is a protest. You stop the game, and you basically killed Sky, killed Man United, you killed the overseas TV. Everyone now knows that if you mess about with us, we'll do it again. That's the best way to get your point across.
Yeah, and so you can answer this for both clubs. Spurs and Arsenal are sliding down the table. It looks like Arsenal won't be in any European football next year. It looks like at the moment Spurs are Conference League at best, which I'm not appealed to. I don't really fancy being on it. So how do we
Harry Kane?
I know that's up, but how do we turn this around? How do we get back to competing? At the top of the table, more so for you. We're not used to it, but how do Spurs get back on the sort of competing for the top four, and how do Arsenal break back on that top four?
Well, the best thing you do, you need to get a manager. You need to get a younger manager with a bit of ambition, and basically, identify the players. You basically need to beg that younger manager, to beg Harry Kane to give you at least one more season, and then you sign around him. If not, Harry Kane, then you have to change the way you play, because what's happening is that Harry Kane is very integral to what you play. Because I think what will happen is that you need to act fast, because if Harry Kane loses, then you can lose Song. And then it's going to be hard to attract good players. Because remember, Lloris is getting on, so you're going to need a goalie.
I think it'll be similar to how it's been before with the fact Spurs have had a very poor season. You see it when
he's a goner.
Exactly. I think when Bale didn't get finished in the top four that season, it was obvious if anyone paid 100 million for Bale, he would go. Madrid come in and paid it. I think it'll be similar. I think Spurs will let Kane go if they get the money they want, and the money they're talking about is 150 million. Whether they get that or not, they have to invest.
There's three clubs in English football that could pay it, and the David Fall's not to do it. Man United are out of crazy because they kept Cannavani, so he's either going to Chelsea or he's going to Man City. Simple.
I think
Madrid can't afford him.
I think he wants to stay in England anyway as well, because I think he wants to break Shearer's record. I think Man City will be all over him in the summer. To be honest, I think.
You know what? I hate Chelsea with passion, not as much as I hate Tottenham, but if Chelsea want to win the league and be top dogs in Europe, then they probably should basically go to Harry Kane's house, take his wife out at dinner, take his kids, make sure that that the kids are sorted, and just say, look, we need you, boom, boom, boom. Stay in London, you don't have to leave your house.
Kenny, you've obviously said you think Arteta will be in charge next season at Arsenal. Not what you would want, but what do you think will happen? Who do you think will be in charge of Spurs next season, if you had a guess?
Well, I think what's happening depends what the situation is, because I heard Scott Parker.
No, I mean, seriously, come on.
No.
We don't want that.
Well, your first choice was Nagelsmann, but he's going to Bayern Munich. So again, I think that you're going to have to go to Brendan Rodgers. You have to go to him. If Ten Hag,
I don't think he'll leave Leicester to come to Spurs. I just don't see it.
Well, I look at it this way. I look at it this way. You probably this is how I look at it. Depends how much you want and how much you're offering. If Harry Kane's still at the club, then Brendan Rodgers will be tempted. If he's not there, then he'll probably tell you to go. But in terms of who Spurs will get, I can't see many options for Tottenham.
I spoke about it on Chris's show a few weeks ago after the cup final. I said that I would love, and this is who my choice would be based on being realistic. And I never thought Nagelsmann would come or Rodgers. I would look at Graham Potter at Brighton. I think he's done very well. But
the thing is,
a lot of Spurs fans won't like that, but we have to be realistic.
See, that's a good point. That's a good move because you think about it, you weren't particularly happy when you got Pochettino from Southampton.
Exactly.
But what's happened?
You have to remember as well before you say that he was only second choice to Van Gaal because he went to Man United. Spurs wanted Van Gaal.
Yeah,
and Van Gaal failed at United as well. So it's not always the glamour. Mourinho's failed at Spurs. It's not always the glamour manager that you have to go for.
Well, the thing about getting Pochettino or getting Potter to thing, the thing about it is that he's kept bright. He plays good football.
Yeah,
he doesn't change the philosophy. Most importantly, he's kept Brighton up. So I can understand it being a left field appointment. And let's be honest, if you can't get Ten Hag, who we want as well, then I could only think about Brendan Rodgers. Really, I haven't really as a neutral. I've never given Potter a fault for Spurs, but I've always thought about maybe Brendan Rodgers because that's who Arsenal talk about. Obviously, I want Allegri and Ten Hag or probably Rafa Benitez as an interim, but for Spurs, Graham Potter's a very interesting.
Do you not think that he suits that kind of Spurs philosophy of attacking football, and he's quite a good, he's quite a good speaker and stuff. He's very similar to Pochettino in many ways, not exactly the same, but quite similar.
Well, that's the thing. You can't. The thing about it is you can never say never because you played. He's going to have more money to spend. He's going to have better players to play with. With crowds coming in as well, there'll be revenue, slight revenue as well. I don't know. I personally, I can't say it's not going to work out with Tottenham because I was very pessimistic. I was very optimistic that Pochettino wouldn't work out for you, and I was wrong.
See, I think the problem is you're going to need a manager like Potter, or if Arteta stays in charge, he's going to have to work with a young. I think, to be honest with Arteta, the bridge is burned. I think if Arsenal stick with him, there's going to have to be a massive change over the summer, and we'll talk about that. But I think if Potter comes in, Spurs fans ought to be patient. They're going to have to rely on. There's not going to be a lot of money to spend at loads of clubs this summer for obvious reasons with COVID. But the fact Spurs and Arsenal aren't going to be in Europe's best competitions, they're not going to be a lot of money to spend. They're quite self-sustaining clubs as it is. They don't spend a lot of money when they have been in them competitions. It's going to require working with the young players. And I suppose the positive for you, Kenny, is Smith Rowe, Martinelli, Saka are coming through. At the minute, Spurs' best loan players are probably Skip, but he's been playing north. So, we've got a lot to do in the summer. And if Kane goes, it's going to be a big rebuilding job. But Kenny, if Arteta stays, do you think there'll be a lot of fans on his back when the fans go back to the stadium next season?
Well, yes, because if the results if the football's still the same style as well, if we still find it difficult to beat teams, lower down the table, yes, he's in dire straits. Trust me, a lot of people who are behind Arteta are not fully committed.
Yeah,
if you're an Arsenal fan and you're saying, well, we're going to give him until next season, and next season means Christmas, which means if it goes south, he's a goner in their eyes.
And it's an interim manager to the end of the season. And it's an always.
But I think why risk that? Why go another season without top Champions League football, European football, by giving this man a chance? He's had his chance. It's not working. What makes you think it's going to? You can talk about, all the goodwill in the world is not, in my opinion, is not going to change the situation. I think Arteta's got a lot of things going against him. Man management is shocking.
Yeah.
He's.
Do you think he struggles? When I watch Arsenal times and they don't get the early goal, you almost feel as the game goes on, they've got no real plan B, and his subs are quite questionable, and he doesn't know how to manage the game. And he's unmanageable.
You as well. So So as an outsider, what was your opinion when he took off?
I coach football myself, so I can understand when things are going wrong.
I hear you, but come on, let's get your opinion on sub. When we need a goal, he subs a Aubameyang. So come on, tell me how you.
Maybe
would you do that as a coach?
Maybe he thought you should get a free kick and he would score one. I don't know.
No, would you do that as a coach though? Where your striker's done nothing, but he's hit the post twice.
Aubameyang could have missed 10 1-on-1s in that game, and I still wouldn't have subbed him off.
You're a coach, so,
Kevin.
You would have done it, innit?
Kevin's saying Kevin's been on this podcast before. A big Arsenal fan. He's a big Arteta fan. He said to me, Arteta needs proper backing. Squad is nowhere near good enough. get rid of the dead wood and get some real quality and they help the young guns. Do you think if Arteta got up at a backing over the summer, things could turn around, or do you think he's just not up to the challenge?
Well, you say that he has had backing though. He's basically the players he doesn't want. They got rid of. Remember, Ozil was a player that he clearly there was differences of philosophy for. Ozil didn't play. Was not even in the Premiership squads, and he wasn't in the sort of Europa League squads. So clearly he's made the decision. The club have endorsed that.
Yeah,
Mustafi.
I agree. I think he's a plenty of backing because they've got rid of a lot of them in January.
So basically, Guendouzi he's gone out alone. We bought Saliba with a lot of fanfare. Arteta doesn't fancy him. He's on loan, so he has had backing. And then, all right, we needed Partey. So the club, cash, not instalments, cash, paid out his release clause. So you can say he has had backing.
I agree. I think if you look at him and Emery's reign, there's clear signs that they've backed Arteta more than Emery. But Kenny, going to finish off. Big game tomorrow night. Might not be a lot riding on it for Arsenal, but Chelsea Chelsea Arsenal, exactly. Chelsea Arsenal is always a big game. As you can see, in terms of the league points wise, there's not a lot riding on it for Arsenal, but it's still Arsenal Chelsea. It's going to be a big game. As you said, Arsenal will probably see Chelsea as still their biggest rival in terms of on the pitch. Chelsea are flying at the minute. Kenny, how do you see this game in the morning? Is it a real one where if Arsenal get their pants pulled down, it could be trouble for Arteta?
Well, the thing is the situation is that they got a cup final. Chelsea got a cup final on
Saturday,
and plus you got Champions League final in about 2 weeks, about 2.5 weeks time.
You still have to secure that top 4 finish.
Well, that's the thing. That's two things. Two things Tuchel needs to do. First and foremost, it's securing the top 4 because Leicester won today. Most important thing as well, players are playing for places. They're playing for places at Wembley and playing for places probably in Lisbon. So that's an incentive for players to keep their form. The trouble with Chelsea is that they want revenge because of what we did to them at Christmas. So they are going to go strong. They are going to want to make a statement. They're playing well. They're playing very well. Yeah. And it's going to be a long night for Arsenal tomorrow. I'm being honest with you. It's going to be a long night.
How do you see it going? What's the prediction?
Look, I think Chelsea are going to win comfortably. I think we'll be lucky if we lose 2-0.
Yeah, I think
we won't score. We won't score. Chelsea are too compact, and we'll find it very difficult getting behind them. If Saka doesn't play well, we'll struggle. Saka's a main fulcrum for attack. And the team selection tomorrow is probably going to be a team selection is going to annoy the fans anyway. I don't see us winning at all.
Yeah. Kenny, I want to thank you for coming on. It's been a really, really good chat.
Well, I enjoyed myself. I enjoy speaking to a Spurs fan who's very objective and who tells you like it is, and I understand. But one thing about it, right, is that I just hope in 2 years' time I'm not talking to you where you're in another Champions League final and you've won a league championship, because you have. That means Arsenal are on the way down.
I don't think it's going to come that, but I love the.
Never say never. Never say never.
And if that does happen, I'll be sure to give you a call and come back on the show, and you can.
I might change my number or my Twitter handle.
No, Kenny, I want to thank you for coming on. Really great chat. One of the best podcasts I've done so far. And exactly.
Thank you very much.
Very objective Spurs fan. Same to you, very objective Arsenal fan. But you can see the passion, and both of us were both very passionate.
Definitely.
We're both very objective as well. Kevin's saying fair play, top man.
Thanks a lot, Kev. The situation is that football's a good game, and I think what's happened. People need to realise one thing: ultimately you're football fans. So you're football fans, which means whether you like it or not, you're going to get knowledge about Scotland. I'm a North London boy, so I've probably forgotten just as much about Arsenal as I have Tottenham.
Yeah,
Tottenham's been in my face because I've got family, and I'm from Islington and Spurs. There's a few Spurs fans who have been treacherous and are born and bred in Islington and don't support Arsenal. Yeah. So I get that. I've got friends at Tottenham, so even if I didn't want to know Spurs' history, they tell me anyway. So
I'll hopefully get you back on next season, maybe for the Northampton Derby or something like that. You'll probably be busy with Arsenal.
I'll love to come because at the end of the day, we're not going to get relegated. So there's definitely going to be North London Derby. There's going to be at least 2 anyway, home and away.
Yeah. Happy days, Kenny. Thanks very much for coming on. And for everyone that's watching, thanks very much. I enjoyed the chat to you, Kenny. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, boys, make sure to check it out again. James is saying fantastic interview. Not so much an interview, more of a chat. But James, thanks very much for watching. And I'll see you again. Thanks very much.